What's up, everybody? Clearly, we are very starved for blockbusters. Everybody is talking about the latest big movie, Godzilla vs. Kong. Everybody's reviewing it, rating it, ranking it, discussing it. So many Godzilla vs. Kong videos. I even saw Grandma Scaboni reviewed this movie, and her channel's typically just dedicated to nothing but videos about foot massage machines. Anyway, let's do it. Let's discuss Godzilla vs. King Kong. Spoilers are ahead. Let's get started with the good. Kong and Godzilla. Now, these are two very old and iconic characters. Kong first appeared in 1933, and Godzilla first appeared in 1954. But decades later, here they are, and they're being treated respectfully in this modern interpretation. In fact, I think Kong probably benefited the most because his character got significant screen time and development. We'll come back to that, though. The action, of course, was awesome. Definitely the highlight of the movie. I loved all of the battles. Everything looked great. It was pretty clean, pretty clear. You could see what was going on. You could follow it. I am Team Kong, so it would have been cool to see King Kong get some more definitive ass-kicking on Godzilla, but it is what it is. Hopefully they'll go at it again, and maybe King Kong will take him down. Hollow Earth. Hollow Earth finally coming into play after being teased in the previous movies was actually a cool payoff. I like the slow build and the seeds planted on Kong's backstory and his lore. Special effects were top-notch. I don't recall a single moment of bad CGI in this movie, and that's saying a lot because there was so much CGI. A lot of CGI. But it all looked good, so well done. Another good point. I like that Kong, especially now, is a more fully fleshed out character. He's evolving. Although the 1933 King Kong remains my personal favorite, in truth, we actually never got much time with him in that movie. In that movie, he was just a tragic beast. We meet him, he falls for beauty, he breaks a dinosaur's jaw, which is awesome. He loses beauty, goes nuts, gets taken captive, goes nuts again, and dies. But even way back then, they knew they had a hit on their hands with Kong, but since they killed the beast, audiences were stuck with Son of Kong, and it just wasn't the same. Now they're smart enough to not do that. They're keeping these monsters alive longer, and we're getting to see more of them as these franchises are milked. As these franchises grow. Another good point, Kong learning sign language and his relationship with the human child. Typically, these monsters have been represented as forces of nature, but in Godzilla vs. Kong, we see King Kong humanized a lot more. Not too much though, thankfully. He still retains most of his animal nature. I also like that they came up with a decent enough reason to have Kong and Godzilla fight. It made sense to have Kong as the hero and Godzilla as the villain. Kong can be more expressive and emotive. He can more easily interact with humans, thus making him more relatable. Whereas if you had Godzilla in this role, it just seems like he'd be more likely to accidentally crush you into oblivion with his tail if you tried to share a nice tender moment with him. And lastly, I also like Kong and Godzilla ultimately teaming up to fight Mechagodzilla. Who said you can't have your cake and eat it too? We got King Kong and Godzilla fighting, and then we had a pretty cool team up. This reminded me of comics I used to read when I grew up. Most of these types of stories featured the heroes fighting. They'd both get their licks in, but in the end, they team up to fight the real bad guy. Here, that real bad guy turns out to be Mechagodzilla, which I was fine with. And now let's get on to a few of the bad points, which I'm going to break down into sort of like random gripes. I mentioned earlier that I did like King Kong being humanized, but not all of it. I definitely didn't need to see King Kong mimicking a human morning routine per se. Waking up, scratching his ass, showering. So that felt kind of goofy, but whatever. The villain was a very cliche bad guy businessman, but whatever. Millie Bobby Brown finds her dad way too easily at the end. This was a bit ridiculous. In the middle of a shattered disaster area, hell zone. Ah, there you are. So I don't know, I thought that was a bit silly. But whatever. And that brings us to the human characters. Maybe it's Spielberg or some Spielberg type director to direct these movies. To be clear, the directing of this movie was fine, no complaints. I guess my real comment is just punch up the writing going forward. Everybody remember Jurassic Park? That movie featured dinosaurs, sure, but notice how in all of Spielberg's movies that featured some creature, you actually cared about the human characters as well. In Jaws, the shark was the monster, but you cared about Quint, and you cared about Richard Dreyfuss, and you cared about everybody. In E.T., the creature was the good guy, but you cared about Elliot and his family. So, it is possible to have a movie featuring creatures or monsters and have the human drama be solid as well. Since some kind of human element is necessary in all of these movies, maybe for the next one, they could work on that a bit harder. The monster action you got. Nailed. 100%. Just work on the other stuff and you'll be good to go. I still recommend this movie. It's a whole lot of fun. You get what you came for. Monster action. So I give this one a solid 3 out of 5. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Later.